Be careful, folks, when I do that because we got several different streaming platforms here, so I got to make sure I can speak to everybody at once. Welcome, glad you could be here. I am Dr. Joe Esposito. Hope everybody's having a great day. It's going to be better now. If you're new to the show, the way this works is we're going to do two 24-minute segments. I talk for 24 minutes. You write any questions you have on your platform, whether you're live or a replay, and I will try to answer them at the break for the live one, and then I'll answer them as soon as I get them. Today's topic are foods that cause brain fog. Now, how many of you have brain fog? Raise your hands. A lot of you. We all have brain fog at some point in our lives, but what do we do about it is the key. And I'm going to discuss why there isn't a lot of research on that and the research I've done and what hopefully will work. So if you're listening live, put in hashtag live right now. If you're listening on a replay, put in hashtag replay right now. I appreciate that. And also where you're from. Just tell me where you're from because I love seeing people from all over the world. It just kind of makes me happy. So we're going to talk about brain fog today. That's how it goes. 24 minutes. Write down your health questions. We ready to get started? Okay, official disclaimer. How to do that. All right, we are ready to rock. So put in your seatbelt, folks. Wild ride coming up. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am very happy that you're here. Today, we're talking about brain fog. How many people have brain fog? Raise your hands. A lot of you do. I know you do. I've been in practice almost 40 years. I've seen a lot of patients come in, sometimes to the point they can't even fill out the paperwork. The brain fog is so bad. Now, you feel fuzzy, a little difficulty remembering things, you have trouble focusing. That's kind of called brain fog. Common causes: grief, stress, going through perimenopause or menopause can do it too, exhaustion. Those we know about, but there's not a lot of research on what causes it based on your diet. Well, that's what I'm here for, to give you that information. Now, given that brain fog is kind of like a layman's term, it's just not really a medical term, it's really describing a collection of symptoms that affect neurocognition. So that's how do you think? Some things are automatic or autonomic. My heart beats. I don't have to think about it. It happens. My kidneys break down urine and pass out waste products. I don't have to think about that. But the thought process, what am I going to wear today? Did I shut off the toaster? Did I close my garage door? This is the neurocognition. And that's when we start having problems. And food is a big impact on it. Now, it's important to remember, science is still evolving. It always is. And science is dynamic. That's why things change. And there were things that I believed years ago that aren't true. I know when the ketogenic diet came out, a lot of the experts were like, keto, it's the greatest thing in the world. Oh my gosh. So many of the experts have backpedaled and said, wait a minute, now the long-term research is out. I was wrong. And I respect anyone who's a researcher that can say, you know what, based on the information I had at the time, I was right. Now I'm not. And that's what research is. And that shows me that the person is honest. But we know that understanding general physiology, how the body works, that anything that creates inflammation, specifically in the brain, can lead to fatigue, sleeplessness, grogginess, brain fog. So there are foods that if they're high in antioxidants and healthy fats, like omega-3 fatty acids, those are good for the brain. If you're doing trans fats, omega-6 fatty acids, added sugars, refined starches, chemicals, these are the things that have an adverse effect on the brain. Artificial sweeteners, saturated fats, animal saturated fats. So if you're focused on eating in a way that's going to reduce your risk of experiencing brain fog, you want to eat a balanced diet with a lot of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Make sure you're getting enough nutrients into the brain. The brain is a nutrient scavenger. The brain wants nutrition. That's why you get hungry. The brain wants nutrition. It's why you get tired. The brain wants nutrition. The brain wants to rest, wants to clean itself up. So the brain dictates your whole life. And if you're giving the brain what it likes and wants, it's going to be happy. If you give it what it doesn't like and want, which a lot of us are doing, it's going to mess it up. So the best foods that we can eat are going to be foods high in, let's say, omega-3 fatty acids, walnuts, algae oils. These are good omega-3 fatty acids. If you're eating something like fish oil, for example, for omega-3 fatty acids, a lot of fish oil, not all, but a lot of fish oil has mercury in it, heavy metals. That can be damaging to the brain. Fish oils go rancid pretty quickly. All oils can go rancid, but fish oil goes rancid and you take that, that's dangerous to the brain. So that's why I like algae oil as the purest form of omega-3. That's the one I take every day. Flax seeds, walnuts. These are the things that can help with the brain function more efficiently. Foods that are high in, that can create nitric oxide, green leafy vegetables, beets, Dr. Joe's nitric oxide support, of course, that's the one I take. Citrulline. These convert into nitric oxide, open up the blood vessels in the brain, and your brain works better. So I'm going to talk about what to eat, what not to eat as we go through this today. Fruits and vegetables packed with antioxidants. Hydration is so important. So many times I have patients come in and they have cognition issues, they have brain issues, they have memory issues, and I just have them drink water. And many times you're just dehydrated. Because when you were little, there was a part of your brain called the hypothalamus, and part of the hypothalamus controlled hunger and part of it controlled thirst. So if you ever raised a baby, you know that baby always said, I want to drink, I want to drink, I want to drink. You never went anywhere without a sippy cup. As we get older, even toddlers, those two parts of the brain grow together. And when they grow together, our age, we have a lot harder time distinguishing between hunger and thirst. So many times, you're not hungry, you're thirsty. And brain fog and fatigue and mood swings and anxiety and headaches many times is simply you need to have more fluid in the body, good fluid. Just did a consultation recently with a patient, and he has cancer, and he has brain fogs, and he has anxiety. He has we probably spent 20 minutes on his nutrition, and usually it doesn't take that long. And I sat down, and he's drinking diet iced tea. And 2 artificial sweeteners are in there, both of which can adversely affect the brain. So I said, stop this immediately. He goes, well, I don't like water. I said, well, then add some stevia to it. Add some lemon juice to it. Add some super greens and essential source to it. But we got to get you off these artificial sweeteners because I've seen in the past that that's one of the things that can have adverse effect on the brain. So hydration is a key. So there are lots of foods that you want to eat: fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, supplements, super green, essential source, nitric oxide, B complex. I'm going to go over these again later. But there's a lot of things I want you to stop. The things that you're doing that are actually causing the brain fog. And unfortunately, when it comes to health, so many health conditions are a condition of deficiency. You don't have enough B vitamins, nitric oxide, antioxidants. And so when you give the body the nutrient that it needs, especially the brain gets real happy. Does a little happy dance, and the brain works much more efficiently. And if you're giving it the things we're going to talk about now, which a lot of you are, it's going to have an adverse effect on the brain. So in the next few minutes, some of you are going to get mad at me because I'm going to give you the truth. And you're going to say, but I can't live without my blank. And I'm going to give you alternatives. How's that for a deal? I never leave you hanging when it comes to nutrition. I'll never say you can't have this, and I'm not going to give you anything to substitute for it. I'm always going to give you something you can do in replace of it. And almost always, in fact, I can't think of a time it didn't happen, patients come back to me and say, thank you. It worked. I never thought I can give up blank, and when I did and I switched to this, I'm so much happier. So I'm not going to try to lead you in a way that you're going to be mad at me. In the end, you're going to be very happy. So individual responses to food, of course, can vary. There's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to anything, including brain fog. So let's expand the list of different foods that many people have when they eat them have brain fog. So the number one, I can't say number one, but the first one, I guess, would be sugar. High intake sugar can raise the body's energy level and then cause you to crash, and that can cause brain fog. And that's why people get foggy if they don't have their afternoon coffee break or their morning coffee break, if they don't eat something, and they get hangry. That's a word that came into society recently. But hangry, well, that's brain fog. Okay, your body's shutting down. It needs glucose to run. The brain loves fat and it loves glucose, and you're not giving it either, and so the brain starts to get grumpy, and so you get hangry. You have that mental fog that comes about, and most people get it twice a day. They have breakfast, and many times breakfast is loaded with sugar: breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, energy bars, which are usually just nothing more than candy bars, maybe coffee with a drink, with some sugar in it. And then come 10, 11 o'clock, they crash. So what do we got to do? Recharge the battery again. So then you'll have a donut and some coffee. It'll give you a quick rush, but it's not going to fix anything. Then lunchtime comes around, and then you have your typical American lunch of alcohol and meat and sugar and dairy and coffee and soda and artificial sweetener and saturated fats and chips that are fried in hydrogenated oils and their corn, which is genetically modified, which is just like sugar and salt. And the body can't function on that. And so the body crashes. 3 o'clock comes around, more coffee. So you drink more coffee to jumpstart the brain, again, artificial fix. And then you go home at night and you're exhausted. Does that sound like your typical day? Sounds like a lot of people's typical day. Going from one fix to the next to go home to crash. Hey, let's go to a party. I'm too old for that. You're in your 20s. I'm too old for that. I don't want to go out anymore. And not only is it bad for you from a chemical standpoint, it's bad for you from a social standpoint. We are gregarious creatures. That means we like to be around other people, and we function well. Now, some people are introverts, and I get that. I understand that. But human contact is really important for the psyche and the brain. And if you're just too darn exhausted to go out, to socialize, to date, to interact with your spouse, your children, that's not healthy. So a lot of the chemical damage that we're doing is causing social damage, and that causes mental damage. And so you have control over what you put in your mouth. And that's a harsh reality, folks. You decide a lot of the conditions that you have, whether it's acid reflux or heartburn or brain fog or heart disease or diabetes. You decided a lot of this, directly or indirectly. Now, it may not be the only cause, but you're certainly contributing to it. Artificial sweeteners, I said that earlier. Aspartame. Aspartame is the most popular artificial sweetener, and it breaks down to 3 components: aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methyl esters. Don't worry about the chemistry. Aspartic acid, too much aspartic acid, is an excitotoxin to the brain. It causes the brain to fire faster than it's supposed to. So aspartame, not my favorite. It breaks down to methyl esters. Methyl esters are methanol, wood alcohol. Now, it's very small amounts. I understand that. If I drank wood alcohol, I could go blind and die. Small amounts, but it's cumulative. So I'm not a fan of artificial sweetener. Now, I told you I would give you substitutes. I wouldn't take anything away without giving you a substitute for it. If you have to have something that's sweet, use stevia, use Lohan, use xylitol. And I had somebody say the other day, well, Dr. Joe, I tried stevia once and it was bitter and I didn't like it. Well, there are a lot of stevia brands out there. Most of them now have debittered them. So maybe you tried it many years ago. It was kind of new to the market. I haven't had a bitter stevia in years. So the analogy I give you is this when it comes to eating well. You try something, you don't like it. I tried tofu and I don't like it. Okay. Did you ever go on a date? Didn't work out? Did you go on another date with somebody else? Yes. So just because one thing in a group didn't, tickle your fancy, doesn't mean you give up on the whole thing. Okay, David Soul, he wrote a song called Don't Give Up on Us, Baby. Just passed away, unfortunately. And yeah, don't give up on us, baby. Just because you tried something and you didn't like it, doesn't mean there's not an alternative to that too. Like I said, I just gave you 3 sweeteners right off the top of my head. So you could try those and see what happens. And here's what happens. When you stop eating the sugar and the artificial sweetener, your brain reboots itself. And a lot of that craving that you need, this big levels of excitement, goes away. And I don't know how many thousands of people I've coached with nutrition. And they come back and they say, Dr. Joe, I used to love sweet tea, whatever. I can't do it anymore. It's way too sweet. So we have high fructose corn syrup, which is sweeter than sugar. We have artificial sweetener, sweeter than sugar, 300 times sweeter than sugar. And you get so excited about it, your brain goes, oh, I love all this excitement. I want more, more, more. And then once your brain reboots itself, it goes back to normal. And so don't be surprised if you start changing your life and the brain fog goes away and then you can't do the things you used to do. It took you a while to build up on that. Highly processed foods, and this is huge. Additives, preservatives that can affect cognitive function. It can affect how the brain works. A good rule of thumb is this. Read the ingredients. If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Just that simple. Now, there are some things like methylcobalamin you may not be able to pronounce, but that's good for you. It's vitamin B12. But generally speaking, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. If you see dyes, artificial, chemical, drop that food. I guess, and I'm guessing when I say this, there's about 120,000 good foods out there that you can choose from. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're eating some of them. You just need to eat more of them. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Okay? If you've ever been to a ethnic grocery store, like an Asian grocery store, Mexican grocery store, you're going to see a lot of foods that you've never seen, for most of us, unless you're, of course, used to that. And you're going to see so many foods you don't even know what they are. Many of them are good for you. Anybody ever have a lychee nut? They're delicious. Probably never had one before, right? So you start expanding your horizon, trying new things. You're not going to like everything. But you try it, you say, well, I like that. I didn't like that. Well, put it on I don't like that list and move on. And the goal today, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about brain fog, that the things you're doing, the refined sugars, the artificial sweeteners, the highly processed foods, the packaged foods, the foods that have these incredible shelf lives, probably not a good food. Now, when it comes to expiration dates on things, it's usually a good idea to follow it, sort of. But like our supplements, for example. Our supplements, I've taken them and I've had them tested even a year out, and they're still fine. But we have to put an expiration date on it. But if something is like milk, which you shouldn't be doing anyway, those are expiration dates you might want to listen to. And a good rule is this. If you taste something, let's say nuts, and the oil has gone rancid, it tastes bitter or rancid, throw it away. Don't eat it. I hate to waste the money, but it's not something you want to do. So just be careful with that. Trans fats. They're found in processed food, fried foods. Look for the word hydrogenated oil. A lot of times you might see partially hydrogenated oil. I did a show the other day, well, a couple of months ago now on it. I always think the other day. I don't have a good space and time in my life. A couple of months ago, I did a show on bad fats. Hydrogenated oils, omega-6 fatty acids, processed oils, and they're heated, they're processed, there's chemicals added. They're so bad for you, way worse than sugar. And so when you eat a bad fat, your body needs fat to make the cells work. Okay, it's part of the wall called lipoprotein layer around the cell. It makes the mitochondria work properly. Mitochondria is the part of the cell that produces energy. And you're putting bad fats in the body only has these cheap building blocks to build the cells with. And so it builds cheap cells. They don't work as well. If you put good fats in the body, it works better. Avocados are great. I have an avocado, I'd probably say 5 days a week. They're so filling. They taste so good. They're high in potassium. They're loaded with nutrients. They have iron in them. They have good fats, like I said. So that's a good thing. And the nice part is I can eat one avocado and be full for about 4 or 5 hours. So I save so much money on food just because I ate something healthy. Now, yeah, it's high in fat, high in calories, but you're only going to eat one. You're not going to eat a whole bag of chips. That's way, way worse with the hydrogenated oils and the toxic fats. So giving the body what it needs. And the brain, you're a fathead. A brain loves fat, and you want to give it really good fat. Dr. Joe's omega-3 fatty acids, they come from algae, avocados, walnuts. These are good fats, flax seeds, chia seeds. These are very good fats that the body loves and the brain loves, and that can help deal with brain fog, which is what we're talking about today. Excessive caffeine. When you do caffeine really doesn't give you energy. It robs the body of energy. That doesn't make sense, what I just said. You have a chemical in your brain called adenosine. And adenosine is released in your brain, and it goes into another part of the brain called the adenosine receptor sites, and it calms you down. It makes you tired. That's why we get tired. Caffeine essentially looks like adenosine. So it gets into the body and blocks up the adenosine receptor site, so you can't absorb adenosine. So you can't absorb the chemical that's trying to make you tired. So, yes, it can stimulate your peripheral nervous system, but it basically prevents you from getting tired. So your brain is smarter than you. And your brain says, I need to rest. I'm going to make more adenosine receptor sites so I can absorb that adenosine so I can finally rest. And you say, no, I'm going to drink more coffee. So when 1 cup of coffee affected the adenosine receptor sites, now you need 2 or 3 or 4 to block up the adenosine receptor sites. Also, coffee is highly sprayed with chemicals, mold, anti-fungicides, anti-mold chemicals. And so it's not just the coffee you're drinking, it's also the chemicals. So if you're going to drink coffee, once again, I'm going to negotiate with you. If you're going to drink coffee, please, organic only. And if you can do decaf organic, better still. But organic only if you're going to drink coffee at all. Negotiate with you? Work a deal with me? All right, good. All right, let's keep talking about foods that can cause brain fog. Now, one of the things that happens with brain fog is it could be a neurological issue. You could have a pinched nerve in your neck, cutting off the nerve and blood supply into the brain. And I know I have a traumatic brain injury. And when my traumatic brain injury flares up, I have terrible brain fog. I'm exhausted. I don't want to move. I don't want to think. And I got hit by a car when I was 10 years old, and I was dead They covered me up on the side of the road and left me there until the ambulance came, and I moved. I wasn't dead. So I have trauma in my brain, and that trauma is always there. But there are certain times that if I eat certain foods, many times unknowingly, it flares up. And so I have to get a chiropractic adjustment to open up the nerve and blood supply up to my brain, or else I can be in this brain fog for days. So if you have neck pain, back pain, headaches, numbness, tingling, those are usually indications that it's a pinched nerve. So chiropractic care is a key to the physical treatment of brain fog. So if you have pain, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, sciatic pain, numbness, tingling, come see us. Not just for brain fog, but for any type of pain, especially in the spine or in the joints. drjoe.com is the website, drjoe.com. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. I want to be your doctor, my team of doctors and I. We want to get to the cause of your healthcare problems, not just treat the symptoms. So drjoe.com. You can book it right online if you want to. Call us. We have 4 offices, Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb, the Atlanta area. We can do remote consultations if we need to. We can do a Zoom call. drjoe.com. Book your appointment right now. Normally, the first visit is $940. I've reduced that for you, my listeners, to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. We accept all insurances, including Medicare. Now, your insurance may not pay. It may not cover it, but we accept you. So drjoe.com, we have cash plans available. It's the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. Why wouldn't you do it? So drjoe.com, book your appointment right now. If you have any questions, send me the question through the website, drjoe.com. Happy to answer your questions for you. We're here to serve you. 38 years now. I want to serve you for another 50 if I can. I'd love to. So drjoe.com is the place to be. Supplement-wise, many times with the brain needs nutrients. We talked about that. So the minimum supplements I would suggest for anybody, including brain fog folks, is Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're 2 powders. They taste great. I just mix them together. Coconut milk, almond milk, water. Shake it up and drink it first thing in the morning. And it's going to help you with your hunger. Because remember, when you're hungry, you're not hungry for food. You're hungry for nutrition. So I'm going to give you high concentration of super quality nutrition and watch what happens. I have to force myself to eat usually in the morning because I know if I don't, in a couple hours, I'm going to be hungry. And I'm busy with patients, so I don't have time to eat. So it's just incredible. And patients tell me all the time, I can't afford not to take your supplements, doc. They're so amazing. Other supplements, nitric oxide. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels to your brain. People ask me all the time, how do you manage when you're doing live lectures, sometimes groups of hundreds or thousands of people, and I'm taking questions live and I'm answering them. I'll do it on my radio shows, and they'll say, how do you do that? I do it because my brain works well. I ain't smarter than you, promise you. My brain just works real well. B complex, B vitamins, B12, and other B vitamins necessary for brain function. Your digestive system has to work properly. If you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, you're not breaking proteins into amino acids, and amino acids become neurotransmitters in the brain, and the neurotransmitters make your brain work. So most patients that I meet that are anxiety, depression, bipolar, ADD, ADHD, almost always, in fact, it's never not happened, have a digestive problem. And we fix their digestive system. We can actually adjust the stomach. The stomach can push up into the diaphragm. We can gently pull it or adjust the stomach away from the diaphragm. And in many cases, that solves so many health issues, including mental issues, brain fog, anxiety, depression. And so it's the missing link, I believe, in brain function, and it works really well. So Super Green, Essential Source, nitric oxide, B complex, adjust the stomach. There's so many things that you can do proactively by avoiding the foods we're talking about and eating the foods that you should eat. Omega-3 fatty acids. Okay, we have a supplement on the website too. So all the supplements are on the website, drjoe.com, in the store section of the website. If you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com. If you have questions, drjoe.com. I can't make it easier for you, folks. I want you to be happy and I want you to be healthy. It's my mission. And I have patients come in, they've spent $10, $20, $100, $200, $300,000 on other treatments, and we check in it's the digestive system and nutritional deficiency. And they get angry. That's all it took? Why didn't the doctors at blank clinic tell me that? It's not their job. They're not trained to do this. I'm not trained to do surgery. I'm not trained to prescribe drugs. I want to get you well and keep you well without drugs and surgery if possible. Not always possible, if possible. So drjoe.com. Follow me on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every single day, many times, multiple times a day. 1-minute tips. If you don't like it, unfollow me. Subscribe for our newsletter, drjoe.com. It's right there. That's the insider group. That's where you want to be one of the cool kids. And we send it out. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. So you have my website, drjoe.com. You have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, at Dr. Joe Esposito. If you're a podcast junkie, Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. I want to get this information to you because this is how you naturally get well and stay well. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, drjoe.com. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. It's okay? Christy approves. We can continue.
All right. Are grits considered a starch?
Or what?
Grits.
Yes.
I just
And
learned.
many times they're genetically modified. So if you're going to do grits, don't. But if you still do them, make sure it's organic.
There are some really good North Carolina grit manufacturers. Grit companies.
Garrett knows his grits.
They're the best.
Yes.
Look at the Carolinas.
Okay. North Carolina grits, according to the expert, resident grit expert.
What are some healthy toppings for toast?
Well, if it's going to be toast, it should be gluten-free toast, or at least Ezekiel bread. Don't do regular wheat because that's my next thing on my list of things not to eat is wheat. Healthy toppings could be almond butter, cashew butter. Those would work very well. Bananas work well. That should be enough right there. I wouldn't do jelly. It's a lot of sugar, of course, unless you just take some smashed up fruit. You can do some frozen fruit and just smash it down and do that if you want to. So, but make sure it's gluten-free bread.
Now, this next one was more of a statement, so I'll
Okay.
put it in the realm of a question, and that is, we're talking a lot about foods and brain fog. What about environmental effects? Things like EMF.
Oh, exactly. I just heard a study last night. I was driving home from my radio show. I was listening to Kim Commando, who's very smart on IT stuff. And there's a new study. They found that the cell phone, I don't have my cell phone near me, cell phone, that sperm count has dropped more than 50% in one generation. And it's because the cell phones are zapping the swimmers. So, gentlemen, if you want to continue functioning, it's not just sperm count, but it's also sexual function. You want to keep that cell phone away from your genitals. Women, don't put it in your bra. Electromagnetic frequencies can cause so many problems, and it seems to be a link to cancer as well. So be careful with that. In fact, Wi-Fi, I'd like to shut your Wi-Fi off if you can at night. Just shut it off so you don't have Wi-Fi while you're sleeping. In your car, don't keep your phone in your pocket. Put it on the dashboard. Put it on a seat far away from you. Stay away from your cell phone the best you can because it's a big issue. Chemicals, phthalates, chemicals like air fresheners, those can cause problems as well. Any artificial scent can do it. Plastics, bisphenol A, which is a chemical that's used as a non-stick component in cans, for example. Don't ever use plastic in a microwave. Don't use a microwave. But if you do, don't put plastic in it. So there's a lot of environmental things that can cause brain fog as well. That's why you need to listen to all my shows because I can't cover it all in one day. So, what else you got?
One I hadn't considered was, and I won't name the brand, but the stuff you spray on your car windshield.
Oh, absolutely.
Keep the water from...
Yes.
From, Yep.
That's chemical too.
And the stuff you spray on your shoes or your sofa or what have you.
Yes, the ones that guard you from a certain type of alcohol. That stain resistance, very toxic. Like Garrett said, spray on your shoes. Water resistant things, very bad. Even the smell of a new car. That's the dashboard evaporating. And that's why you get that film on the inside of your car. That's your dashboard evaporating. So try to drive with your windows open as often as possible.
That is all for now.
That was it. Oh, quickies today.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. All right, let's keep rocking. Whenever I do these things, my nose tickles. I don't know what it is. When I do my regular show, my radio show, my nose doesn't tickle. It's only when I do this podcast. I don't know what it is. All right.
The one on the question for EMFs was essentially she was pointing to driving to work every day. There's certain points in her drive on the interstate that she just has a hard time holding thoughts.
You're probably near a cell tower.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I used to date a gal, and she wanted to buy a condo near a cell tower. And I said, well, it's your call, but I wouldn't do it. And she didn't. So, yeah, 'cause the cell towers alone. I know I found a great house one time I wanted to live in on top of a mountain, and there was a cell tower right there. And I was like, great views. I'd love to live here, but I couldn't live with the EMFs, electromagnetic frequency. So, yeah.
And it's not so much that I think there's a lot of argument on the case for EMFs and Wi-Fi and wireless signaling. mainly because everybody's different. Some people are wildly affected, and some people will never notice a difference.
Yeah. And the argument was really strong years ago, but everybody's kind of giving in and going, yeah, it's an issue. And I just saw a study with the ear pods, how dangerous they are. That you can put your ear pod in, and you get what's called a Gauss meter. It measures electromagnetic frequencies, and just hold it next to your ear. And like 0.5 on the Gauss meter is where it starts going to the danger range, and it's going up to 50, 80 on the Gauss meter. And 0.5 is the danger level. So you're literally frying your brain with those ear pods.
Well, you've got wireless earbuds that connect wirelessly, and you put one in each ear. And what's the shortest path to connect the two?
Through your brain. You're short-circuiting your brain. Yeah. So not a good idea. And especially for kids, they have smaller, thinner skulls. And so they're more affected by it. So years ago, there was an argument, but I think that argument's kind of been put aside. It's like, yeah, it's not a good thing. Nobody's disagreeing with it. Now we have 5G, which is even worse. So anyway, that's another show. All right, ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito. If you stayed with us, thank you. If you just joined us, welcome. Glad you could be here. What we're talking about today are things that cause brain fog. And a lot of it is what you're doing every day. We're just talking off air. We were talking about electromagnetic frequencies from your cell phone. And if you have the things you put in your ears that are wireless, and you can use something called a Gauss meter, Gauss, I think it's spelled. And you should get one. In fact, you can even get it on your phone. It's free apps and stuff like that. And just get a Gauss meter and just walk around your house and see where the electromagnetic frequencies are high. Again, it's free. It's a free app. Delete it when you're done with it. And you'll be amazed. I remember years ago when cell phones first came out, I did this, and I thought, that's a bunch of crud, And I was walking around my house, and I put it next to my, at the time, clock radio. Went off. And even wires through your house and your walls. You can check the walls. And you don't want to put the head of your bed or something near where there's a lot of electricity. And some people are so sensitive that they have to shut off their breaker at night. That's how sensitive it is. It's a good idea to shut off your Wi-Fi, certainly. You can get a little timer, and like for Christmas tree lights. They're like $10 somewhere, big box stores. And you can set it. So maybe 10 o'clock, your Wi-Fi shuts off, and then it comes back on again, 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever. That's something I'd recommend as well. And we were talking off air that there was some controversy over that. Well, years ago there was. There was an argument, no, Wi-Fi is safe, don't worry about it. I don't know anybody who's arguing that point anymore. Everyone pretty much agrees that Wi-Fi is dangerous. And it was just a study, I heard about it yet last night, as a matter of fact. I was driving listening to another radio show host, and she had quoted a study that was done that sperm count in this generation is less than 50% of it was the generation before. And so it's becoming a big issue. A lot of young couples are having trouble conceiving because sperm count is so low. So a lot of it has to do with if you keep your cell phone in your front pocket, the electromagnetic frequencies from your cell phone. So that can certainly cause brain fog as well. So if you have brain fog, trouble sleeping, shut off your Wi-Fi at night. Put your cell phone at least 6 feet away from you and see what happens. Give it a week or two. If it doesn't work, I was wrong. So what? You shut off your Wi-Fi for a couple of nights. If I'm right, which I probably am, then you'll say, wow, I had no idea. My anxiety, my depression, my sleep issues, my brain fog was all linked to something that I was doing every day. Same thing with food. You're doing a lot of this to yourself. And a famous man once said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And you're doing it because you didn't know that. And every show I do, and Garrett's been with me now for I don't know how many years, my producer, and every show, Garrett says, I didn't know that. I teach him something new every show. My producer at the radio station, Ahmad, 14 years we've been together. Every show, he says, these are the things I learned today. So we have a lot of good information, and there's always new stuff. I'm not going to run out of information, believe me, but you have control of a lot of what you do. All right, another thing that is a big player, these two things, these are the two foods I want you to cut out right now. Artificial sweetener, just cut that out anyway, it's not a food. But wheat and dairy products. Because gluten is a protein in wheat. A lot of people are sensitive to gluten. If you eat bread, and you should not eat the bread anyway, so it's basically sugar, you want to eat gluten-free bread. So here's my challenge. Just did a consultation this week on a guy. He's taking 3 different sinus medications. He already has cancer. He's got acid reflux. He's in his late 60s. And he says, my sinuses just fill up like crazy. I said, I want you to cut out all wheat and all dairy products. And he said, his wife said actually, that's pretty much all he eats. Stumbled on something, didn't I? I said, no wheat, no dairy for 2 weeks and see what happens. He said, yes, sir. That was it. Don't argue with me. Give it a shot. I promise you he's going to see results. So dairy products are the other one. Dairy is the number one food allergen. Lactose intolerance, sensitivity to the proteins in dairy, called casein. This can cause a lot of cognitive functions. And the good news is, cognitive malfunctions, there's so many dairy alternatives. There's an alternative to everything in dairy, and it works just as well, if not better, than the real thing. There's cheeses, there's yogurts, there's ice creams, there's butters, there's milks. So coconut milk is a great choice. Hemp milk is fine. Almond milk is fine. Switch out your dairy. Switch out your gluten. Give me 2 weeks. See what happens. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? But I'm not wrong. And you cut out the wheat and the dairy, and you'll be amazed. And the artificial sweetener, of course, that's got to go. What happens to your sinuses, your bowels, your sex life, your energy level, your sleep patterns, your vision. I've heard people improve from vision. Sinus, the snot's running out of your nose. So many things get better. And then if you want to go back to the wheat and the dairy, that's your call. I don't know why you would, but that's your call. Give it a shot. Like I said, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? And food additives, we're talking about things that can cause brain fog. Food additives, people react to certain colors, to certain additives, to certain dyes. So once again, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. And there's a new term in my world, our world, whatever we do in my world, and it's called ultra-processed foods. Now, what's an ultra-processed food? It has ingredients in it that you wouldn't find in the average person's kitchen. These are ultra-processed foods. Now, if you read the ingredients and you don't have everything that you wouldn't have normally in your kitchen, don't eat it. These are foods that have long shelf lives. I remember years ago, I used to work for a vending company. And one of my jobs, I was really young, so I'd go around with the drivers. I wasn't old enough to drive. And one of my jobs was to fill up the vending machines with cakes and candies and snacks. And one day we got a call. I don't know if they're still in business, so I won't give their name. And the company called and said, there's an old vending machine back in our warehouse. It's been here for years and years and years. And we found your name finally on it, the company I worked for. You want to come get it. So we went and got it. And I went with the driver, and they needed me. I was a big muscle head, so I lifted the thing, put it in the truck, and there was some cakes in there. And most of the cakes were stale, but one of the yellow sponge cakes, I won't give a name, was in there, and it still was squeezably fresh. And I laughed, and I said, these things never go stale, do they? But I witnessed it with my own eyes, and it was there for years and years and years. So don't eat foods that have a long shelf life. Honey is the only one that would be the exception to that. Honey never goes bad. But even honey, a good portion of honey in our world right now is counterfeit. They add high fructose corn syrup to it. They add sugars to it. And so I did a social media post on determining if your olive oil is real, because 80% of olive oil is fake, or at least diluted. And I'm going to do one on honey, too. So follow me on social media, at Dr. Joe Esposito, and we post health tips every single day. You will not regret following us. Now, if you don't like it, unfollow me. But we give a lot of good information, and it's 1-minute tips. That's all it is 1-minute tips. So monosodium glutamate, I got to cover this, because monosodium glutamate is a food additive. You probably associate with Chinese food. But monosodium glutamate is added to a lot of different foods. It has over 40 different names. Autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, a yeast extract. Natural flavors can even be monosodium glutamate. And monosodium glutamate breaks down to 3 components: aspartic acid, phenylalanine. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's aspartame. Monosodium glutamate is the glutamic acid. And glutamic acid is an excitotoxin to the brain, just like aspartic acid. And when monosodium glutamate, the glutamic acid, gets into the brain, it affects how the brain transports information. It affects the electrical charge in the brain. So basically, it excites the cells so much that the cell can die. That's a real simple way to put it. And monosodium glutamate, very common in patients with headaches, but also can cause brain fog, can cause fatigue, can cause lack of clear consciousness. And it's found in so many processed foods. In fact, the first book I ever wrote, called Eating Right for the Health of It, I have a chapter in there. And at the time, and this was written years ago, it had 40 different names. So please be careful with that, because the reason we use it is glutamic acid excites taste buds in your tongue called umami taste buds. Yes, that's a real word. Umami taste buds are savory. When I went to school, we only knew about salt, sugar, sweet, and bitter. Now we have umami. Because I remember someone in class saying, well, what about something like a steak? It's not sweet, it's not sour, it's not bitter. And, what is it? And we didn't know these taste buds existed. Now we do. And so umami is a savory flavor. Mushrooms, broths. And monosodium glutamate enhances the umami flavor. And so you like it, so you eat more of it. Now, the original monosodium glutamate came from seaweed in Japan, and it wasn't as toxic as it is now. Now they get it from bacteria, basically the same bacteria, a type of bacteria that can be found in sewage. Again, water's found in sewage too. It doesn't mean you shouldn't drink water. But they use a bacteria, and its waste product is glutamic acid. So just be very, very careful with that. And so what I do with my patients, and I'll let you do this too, you're my patient, I consider you my friends anyway, is go to my website, drjoe.com, and under patient forms, you'll see something called a diet diary. There's a tab along the top for patients, and you drop it down, patient forms, click on that. And a diet diary, print it up, it's absolutely free, I'll never know you were there. And if you have brain fog, if you have headaches, if you have any sinus problems, digestive issues, anxiety, any type of health issue, I recommend my patients do this, is write down everything you eat. When I say everything, I want to know a piece of gum, a Tic Tac, anything you eat, write it down. And then in the margin, write down how you feel. Gosh, I didn't have a headache for 3 days, and now I have a headache. Let's go back at my diet. Let's go to videotape, and let's see what I ate. Well, gosh, you know what, Dr. Joe? I had Chinese food that day. Monosodium glutamate. I got a headache. I had a blazing headache that day. What could it be? I had coffee that day, caffeine. I was tired, saturated fats. So you can really many times diagnose yourself just by going back and looking at your diet. Just do it for a couple of days. Watch what happens. I think you'll be amazed. And so that diet diary is so important to figure out where you're having a reaction, because some people are more sensitive than others. If you have celiac disease and you eat a piece of bread, you can end up in a hospital, and maybe even, could be serious, almost deadly, sometimes deadly. If you don't have celiac disease, you might eat a piece of bread and just feel a little fatigued, maybe a little gassy, maybe a little sinus congestion, and never realize that it was the bread. So that's why the diet diary is so important. And people ask me all the time, I get this question all the time, Dr. Joe, how come my other doctors never told me any of this? I get this question just about every day. The answer is, that's not what these people are trained in. I'm not trained in gynecology. I'm not trained in doing an eye exam. I am trained in biochemistry and health. I'm really good at that. So you got to forgive your other doctors because they don't even know this stuff exists. A lot of them are my patients. And they listen to my shows, listen to my podcast, read my books, and they'll say, I had no idea. They kind of know this exists, but they don't never put it together like that. That's why nurses and doctors make the best patients. Because when I explain things to them, I show them how to test for nerves that don't feel pain in the body, see if there's pinched nerves. Maybe this nerve goes to the lungs, and that's affecting the breathing, and that could cause asthma. I never thought of it like that before. If you have asthma, let's treat the asthma. Let's treat the nerve supply to the lungs. Maybe that's causing the bronchial spasm, and that's causing the asthma. You're right. How about the nerves in the low back? They control the colon, the sex organs, and the bladder. And men are having romantic issues, and they're taking little blue pills, and they're doing injections into their own manhood to try to get it stimulated, and it's not working, and no one ever checked the nerve supply to that area. Could be a swollen prostate. A bunch of nerves come into the prostate and supply the male sex organs. So maybe it's the prostate and not the sex organs itself. Oh, never looked at it like that before. So we look at things differently, and we're all right. We're just looking at it differently. And that's why we try to get to the cause of your healthcare problems and not just treat the symptoms. So if you have a health issue, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, sciatica, brain fog, headaches, nutritional concerns, digestive concerns, make an appointment to come see us. Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. I want to be your doctor. I want to help get to the cause of your problem. You can do it right online, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. We can get you an appointment this week. Whenever you're listening to this, it's this week. Because we always leave new patient appointments available unless we get crazy and fill up quickly. But drjoe.com. Normally the first visit, $940. I've reduced that for you, my listeners, to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. So drjoe.com, let's get to the cause of your health problems. And we can do it remotely if we need to, too. drjoe.com. So we're talking today about things that can cause brain fog. Monosodium glutamate's a biggie. Artificial sweetener's a biggie. We talked about sugar, but there's a subset of sugar called high fructose corn syrup. Now, it's found in a lot of processed foods, sugary beverages. It's so bad on so many levels. So when you eat high fructose corn syrup, 55% of that product is fructose, 45% is glucose. The glucose is used as energy for your cells. It's absorbed, no problem. The fructose has to be converted into glucose in order for your body to use it. Can't use fructose. So it goes into the liver, and it goes through a process, and it creates fructose. Well, a waste product of converting fructose into glucose is uric acid. Uric acid can build up in your joints, and it hurts. So a lot of patients come to us for pain, of course. We're really good. In fact, I'm even board certified in pain management. They come to us for pain management, and we do a dietary workup, and I see they're just sucking down high fructose corn syrup like crazy. And I say, you got to cut out the high fructose corn syrup. And when they do, we stop the production of a lot of the uric acid. The uric acid comes out of the joints, and the pain goes away. And they think I'm the smartest guy in the world. Well, I'm not. I just know how things work. Uric acid prevents the body from properly producing nitric oxide. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels. So it's important to have good blood supply to flush out the uric acid. And now you're shutting down the production of the thing that can flush out the thing that's causing the pain. Now, nitric oxide also increases circulation to your brain, your reproductive organs. Keep it clean. It's a family show. Many times men take the little blue pill, and it doesn't work 50% of the time. Why is that? Because you don't have enough nitric oxide to open up the blood vessels. So I've had men on little blue pills. I get them on nitric oxide, and oh my gosh, Dr. Joe, I'm gonna hurt somebody. But many times, if we fix the nitric oxide, they may not need the little blue pill. So that's why nitric oxide is my third favorite supplement. Super Green's an essential source, my two favorites. If you're not taking them, folks, just take them. I don't know why you're not. In fact, our Super Greens now, for the next couple of weeks, Super Greens hemp is even half price. I'm basically giving it to you. Why? I want you to experience the wonderful thing that we call health. And so many of you have never experienced it. And when you do, you go, I want to do this more often. I want more. Okay, there's a song like that, right? I want more. So high fructose corn syrup, not a good idea. Agave nectar is even worse. It has 85% fructose in it. So the fructose converts to uric acid. Uric acid gets into joints. Uric acid prevents nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide production opens up the blood supply, particularly to where? The brain. And that can cause brain fog, because that's what we're talking about today. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about brain fog. Low vitamin B12 levels. A deficiency can cause neurological issues. Most folks take a B12 complex or take some type of B vitamin, but there's two types of B12 that's common in the marketplace. One is called methylcobalamin, one is called cyanocobalamin. Cyanocobalamin has a molecule of cyanide in it. I don't want you eating cyanide. Methylcobalamin is the form we need. Now, about 40% of you have a genetic flaw that you can't methylate your B vitamins. You can't convert them into a usable form. And I see this a lot with autistic children. I see it a lot with people with brain fog, Alzheimer's, fatigue, chronic fatigue syndrome, polymyalgia rheumatica. I see patients with pain symptoms, and they're just not methylating their B12. And so if you take a B supplement, make sure it's a methylated B12. Now, Dr. Joe's B complex is a methylated B12. The B12 we use in Dr. Joe's Super Essential Source, methylated B12. So some of your brain fog might just be that you're not absorbing your nutrients because you can't. But I take B vitamins. It's not the form you use, and you can't convert it. And like I said, 40% of people have this genetic flaw. So it's pretty simple to fix. I'm not a big fan of fish oils. People ask me all the time about omega-3 fatty acids because fish oil, you run the risk of possible mercury contamination. Now, there are some good fish oils out there. I'm not going to say they're all bad. And they say certified mercury-free. If you're going to do a fish oil, make sure it says that, but don't do a fish oil. The purest form of omega-3 comes from algae oil. And on my website, drjoe.com, we have Dr. Joe's algae oil. I take that every day. It's so important for the brain to get omega-3 fatty acids, and most of us are sadly extremely deficient in omega-3 fatty acids. So omega-3 fatty acids, super greens, essential source. Again, those are the minimum supplements everybody should be taking. Nitric oxide to open up the blood vessels. B complex, make sure it's methylated, of course. Adrenal support, because your adrenal glands, as you get older, burn out. And adrenal glands produce energy, they produce hormones, and they fight inflammation. We started this show with what? One of the main cause of brain fog is inflammation of the brain. So if I had to give you a supplement protocol, super greens, essential source, nitric oxide, omega-3 fatty acids, B complex, and adrenal support. And fix the stomach. If you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, come see us. Let's see if we can adjust or pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm so you can start digesting your food more efficiently. Let's check the nerve supply to the brain. Let's check the nerve supply to the stomach. Let's make sure you have good bacteria in your colon. You might be doing something like chlorinated water, and chlorine kills off good bacteria as well as bad bacteria. Went to a restaurant the other day with my buddy Tim. We both sipped the water and said, nope, taste the chlorine in it. And we know that chlorine is an antibiotic. It kills bacteria in your swimming pool, in your spa. Kills bacteria in your colon too. And you need good bacteria in your colon. It's vital. And so if we have bad bacteria or an imbalance of bacteria, that can affect brain function as well. And then you decide what you're eating. You decide if you're going to eat processed meats, if you're going to eat cheeses that are aged or fermented. There's something called tyramine. Aged cheeses, processed meats, that can affect the brain. Many times cause headaches too. Are you eating white flour? Are you eating alcohol? Are you doing sugars? These are all the things I really want you to consider cutting back or cutting out of your diet, because these are the things that are just so toxic to the body. And you got to drink enough water. So many of you have brain fog. So many of you have kidney problems, liver problems, constipation, sexual dysfunction, headaches, because you're dehydrated. Not only are you not drinking water, you're drinking coffee and sodas, which are diuretics. They make you pee. Alcohol makes you pee. You ever notice how you drink one beer, you pee out 3? Where does other 2 beers come from? Your body is giving up its own vital fluid to flush the alcohol out of the system. In your brain, you have a chemical called antidiuretic hormone. An antidiuretic hormone prevents you from peeing. Right now, you're producing it. Otherwise, you pee all day. Also called vasopressin. Well, what happens is, if you're drinking alcohol, it lowers your production of vasopressin so that you can pee out the alcohol. Dehydrates you, because the body says, I'd rather you be dehydrated than have the alcohol in your brain. So I'm making a lesser of 2 evils. And so you get dehydrated. That's when you wake up the next day, a hangover. Not only did you deplete your body of B vitamins, but you dehydrated yourself. So I don't recommend you drinking, but I told you earlier, I'm going to negotiate with you. If you're going to drink, for every drink you have, 3 glasses of water, Super Greens, an essential source, and Dr. Joe's B complex. And if you do that, I shouldn't say this, if you do that, your chances of getting a hangover drops dramatically. So you drink a lot of water, Super Green, essential source, and B complex, and it's crazy. People come back to me and say, Dr. Joe, I feel like I'm in college again. I can drink again. I don't want you to do that. But if you're going to do it, again, I'm willing to negotiate with you. I want you to make sure you're getting enough fluids in the body and rehydrating yourself. And meat, of course, is a biggie, because meat is loaded with saturated fats, meat and dairy products. Saturated fats can clog up your blood vessels, and that can affect brain function, affect sexual function, increase your risk of hardening of the arteries. But saturated fats increase viscosity of the blood. It makes your blood thicker, and so you can't flow the blood up to the brain. Things that thin out blood, cayenne pepper, ginger, water. These are the things that are natural blood thinners. Folks, I'm almost out of time. I got so much more to cover. If you have any health questions, go to my website, drjoe.com. Anything, and see if I have an answer for you. I'm happy to answer for you. If you'd like to make an appointment to come see us, which I think you should, by the way, either in person or virtually, drjoe.com. We'd love to be your doctors. Normally the first visit, $940. I've reduced that to $299 for you guys. Exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on a follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. I don't know any clinic that does all of that anywhere at any price. So, but these are the things that if I was a patient, this is what I want done. These are the things I know we should check. Follow me on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. If you're a podcast junkie, Dr. Joe for the health of it. Social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We post every single day. But really, the most important thing is come see us or send me your questions through the website, drjoe.com. All the supplements, by the way, are on the website as well in the store section. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time. Garrett's got to go to work now. Ha.
So I did want to say you had talked about again the sensitivity to electricity, and it just threw me straight back to Better Call Saul. His brother. You see that?
I've seen it, yeah.
I always question, is that a real sensitivity, like in the real world, or are they
Some
just
people are so sensitive that they can't have cell phones. I mean, it really is a sensitivity, yeah. And they have to shut off the electricity in their house at night. They can't do it during the day. They're living. But yeah, some people are really that sensitive. Now, the good news is once we build up their nutrient supplies, get the nervous system working, a lot of that fades. So, in most cases, again, no promises or guarantees. So, yeah. What else?
All right. Are there any fruits and vegetables that can help improve vision?
I have macular degeneration. I was told about 8-9 years ago I'd be blind by now, and I didn't buy it. So Super Greens and Essential Source were the key to me helping my vision. Nitric oxide, of course, increased circulation, B complex. And if you go to my website, drjoe.com, and just type in macular degeneration, Garrett was kind enough to take the pictures from my eye doctor over the years and post it on my website. And you can see my macular degeneration getting better and better and better. My 3 eye doctors have told me that's impossible. It can't happen. But it did. Last time I went was the first time in years it didn't get better. It was stable. And the guy said, too, it never stabilizes. And this is a new eye doctor. And he's like, this is amazing. He says, I've never seen this before. This is crazy. So, yeah, so lutein and zeaxanthin are the 2 supplements I usually talk about for vision. But this has way more than lutein and zeaxanthin in it. So the answer is a plant-based diet, of course, but supplements as well. What else?
Is unfiltered honey any better than filtered honey?
Yes.
Why do they filter honey?
They filter because it looks pretty. It's the only reason. Now, I just bought some honey. I was at Sprouts, and it's firm. It's really firm, and it's crystallized. And honey should crystallize, by the way. So I'm going to do my honey experiment with the different types of honey. I'll do it as a social media post, and you'll see what real honey looks like. So, unfiltered, unpasteurized. When they pasteurize it, too, it breaks down a lot of nutrients.
So this one, she was actually called, and she's setting up an appointment with us.
Good.
She knows you're a chiropractor, an orthopedist, nutritionist. However, are you able to be a patient's PCP?
Yes, because we have a medical doctor on staff. Yeah, so if anything I can't do medically, we have Dr. Sanders who can do it. So the answer is yes. We can. I can't. It depends what you want as a PCP. I'm PCP for probably 80% of my patients. They don't go anywhere else. So, yeah.
I thought PCP was illegal.
No, it's different.
Okay.
Millennials. You see how they think? So
that is all I have for today.
Guys, thank you so much for being here at Dr. Joe Esposito, all social media platforms. Send me your questions, drjoe.com.